David and Goliath. The Philistines gathered their armies for battle against the Israelites, and Saul and the men of Israel gathered together and camped in the valley of Elah, lined up in battle against the Philistines. Out from the camp of the Philistines there came a champion called Goliath of Gath. He was 9 feet 9 inches high. He had a helmet of brass upon his head. He was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass.
Now that probably meant that he was big for his size when he was a kid.
That's right, he must have been really big when he was a little boy.
Yes, he must be a giant. Everybody was scared of him.
That's right, and he was used to people having been scared of him even from when he was little. So he cried to the armies of Israel, "Why have you come out to set up your armies against us? Am I not a Philistine, and you servants of Saul? Choose a man to represent you, and let him come down to me. If he can fight me and kill me, then we'll be your servants. But if I win over him and kill him, then you will be our servants and serve us. I defy the armies of Israel this day. Send me a man that we may fight together."
That meant if he was a Philistine in battle, I think he would have big muscles. Yeah, that you could see. He must have the big mommy and daddy.
That's all true. So they were all scared of him, and so when Saul and all the Israelites heard these words of the Philistines, they were very frightened. Every morning and evening for 40 days the Philistine drew near and challenged the Israelites like this. David at this time had gone back from Saul's court to feed his father's sheep in Bethlehem, and his 3 older brothers were in the army with Saul. Then Jesse said to David his son, "Take some of this parched grain and 10 loaves for your brothers, and take them to your brother's camp, and take these 10 cheeses to the captain of their group, and ask how your brothers are getting on." So David left his sheep early in the morning with someone else, and left as Jesse his father had commanded him. He came to the battle line just as the army was going out to fight, shouting the battle cry. David ran among the army and came and greeted his brothers, and as he was talking with his brothers, Goliath, the champion of the armies of the Philistines, came out and made his challenge, and David heard it. And all the men of Israel ran away from Goliath, and they were saying, "Have you seen this man? He's come up to challenge Israel, and to the man who can kill him, the king Saul will give riches and give him his daughter to marry and make his father's family free from tax in Israel." David said to these men who stood by him, "Who is this Gentile Philistine that he should challenge the armies of the living God?" Eliab, David's older brother, heard him speaking like that, and Eliab was angry with David and said, "Why did you come down here? With whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride in your heart. You've just come down to see the battle." When the people heard the words which David spoke, they told Saul about him, and he sent for David. And David said to Saul, "Let no man's heart be troubled because of Goliath. I will go and fight with the Philistine." Saul said, "You're not able to go to fight with this man because you're but a boy, and he's been a man of war since he was a boy." But David replied to Saul, "When I was keeping my father's sheep, a lion came and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock. I chased it and hit the lion down and rescued the sheep out of its mouth. And when the lion rose against me, I caught him by his beard and struck him and killed him. Your servant killed both the lion and the bear, and this Gentile Philistine will be like one of them, seeing he's challenged the armies of the living God. The Lord who saved me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he will save me from the hand of this Philistine." Then Saul said to David, "Go, and may the Lord be with you." Saul armed David with his armour and put a big helmet of brass on his head and clothed him with a coat of mail. He put Saul's sword upon the armour. And David tried to walk in order to test the armour, but he couldn't. He told Saul, "I can't fight with these. I'm not used to this kind of thing." He took off the armour and gave it back, and he took his staff in his hand and went and chose 5 smooth stones out of a small river, and put them in his shepherd's bag. And with his sling in his hand, he drew near to the giant Philistine Goliath. The Philistine drew near to David, and his shield carrier went in front of him. When the Philistine realized that David was just a boy, he laughed. "Am I a dog that you come to fight me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his idols. "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and the animals of the field." David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the army of Israel, whom you have challenged. This day the Lord will put you into my hands, and I will strike you down and cut your head off from you, and I will give the bodies of the army of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild animals of the earth, so that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all gathered here will know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear, but the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." As the Philistine rose up and went towards David, David ran towards the army to meet the Philistine, and he put his hand into his bag, took out a stone, and slung it from his sling, and hit the Philistine in his forehead. The stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face on the earth.
And he fell down to ground.
That's right. David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone. But there was no sword in David's hand. David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took Goliath's sword and cut off his head. When the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they ran away, and the men of Israel arose, shouting, and pursued the Philistines all the way to the gates of Ekron. So it just shows that God uses little people, and he will give the victory to those who believe in him, and those with all the human strength in the world cannot win if God is on our side.